Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting off with our third session of the day. The session is the world of aroma. And today we have three esteemed speakers on stage and our moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for our moderator of the day, Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. He's the Principal Director of FFDC. Shakti Vinay Shukla has been accolades with the Young Scientist Award 2001 by the Uttar Pradesh Council of Science Technology, the UP Ratna Award 2010, and the Lifetime Achievement Award by Essential Soil Association in India in 2022. He has published more than 100 papers and presentations on essential oils, fragrance, flavor, and aromatherapy, and conducted more than 1,000 training programs and designed and ran a year-long course in aroma technology and in management. A big round of applause for Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. It's time that we call up our speakers on stage. Coming up at first, we have Mr. Takaji Matsumoto. Can we have a round of applause for Takaji Matsumoto with 30 years of experience in synthetic organic chemistry and organometallic chemistry. Takaji Matsumoto is currently the in charge of planning and sales in Global Aroma Ingredients Business Strategy Department of the Kasago International Corporation headquarters in Japan. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Coming up next, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Alan Fricks, the founder of All Chemics Consultancy BV. He has dedicated 30 years to the field of perfumery and aromatic ingredients with further expertise in renewable materials such as turpentine derivatives and essential oils. He has developed a vast global network of access to fragrances, flavor, and food manufacturers, natural and synthetic ingredients, producers, processors, traders, and scientific and regulatory experts. A volunteer at IFEAT's scientific committee, he is involved in various IFEAT projects related to aromatic plants, pesticide reduction, biodiversity, invigoration, and proactive thinking in the face of climate change. I would now like to call upon stage our next guest, Mr. Paul Van Rooy. Paul Van Rooy currently leads the Global Aroma Ingredient Marketing Department of Laxus. With more than 15 years of technical and commercial experience in specialty materials, fine chemicals, flavors, and fragrances. Can we have a big round of applause? And ladies and gentlemen, before handing over the stage and mic to our moderator, Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla, I have one small request from all of you. So before we begin the session, because we have been here since morning, and I want all of you guys to energize a bit. So we'll do one small activity to energize. I request our guests also. So what we'll do is, we'll try to make a synergy. Everyone, please clap, clap, and click. Okay? We'll do it. Clap, clap, click. Clap, clap, click. Clap, clap, click. Come on. Clap, clap, click. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, guys. So it is just to charge us up. We've had a good lunch. It's time that we go to our next session. A very interesting session. You guys are going to get to learn a lot. Handing over the stage and mic to Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's a really matter of proud and privilege for me. And particularly I thank Mr. Rishabh Kothari and Mr. Hitesh Mehta for organizing this wonderful event and giving me a chance to moderate this session of the world of aroma ingredient, which is of a fairly utmost important when we talk about fragrance and flavor industry. Definitely, the aroma ingredients are the backbone of it, whether it's a natural or it's a synthetic. Definitely, when we talk about such aroma ingredient as on date, there are more than 9,000 plus synthetic aroma ingredients. And recently, yesterday, we published the list of that ingredient, which has been done by Fragrance and Flavor Development Center along with Fragrance and Flavor Association of India. So that indicates how vast this big industry is. Simultaneously, we need to talk about the natural aroma ingredients. Definitely, there are around 300 plus which are used widely by the fragrance and flavor industry across the globe on a large commercial basis. Out of these 300, 50% are cultivated, rest 50% are widely grown like kevada and nagarmotha and number of other materials. Out of these 300, 110 covers across the globe 95% of the total their consumption in fragrance and flavor industry. And very proudly I can say, out of this 110 which covers 95% of the total natural ingredients across the globe in the fragrance and flavor consumption, 31 are there from India for which we are known, and 21 are still there which are in India we are producing, but across the world we are not known. And for that, definitely a number of organizations in the country are working onto it. There are more than 9 different research labs across the country, those who are working continuously, including Fragrance and Flavor Development Center. There are 5 CSIR labs, there are few state labs, spice boards, those who are continuously working to increase these aroma ingredients across the nation, and the Aroma mission, floriculture missions are working onto it. So definitely they are the backbone of the industry, and I'm really proud that I'm looking after this session, and I'm fairly sure the kind of speakers we today have, definitely they will be covering a wide range of all aroma ingredients, and I'm fairly sure with the kind of rich experience which today's speakers does have, we all are going to get benefited, and I hope we all are going to have a nice, knowledgeable session. Thank you.
I request Mr. Takaji Matsumoto to please take over the stage and give his presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much to organizer and moderator this session. Okay. I am Takaji Matsumoto from Takasago International Corporation from Japan. So in this session, I'd like to present the review of chiral aroma ingredients development and its situations. Okay, sorry. First of all, I'd like to explain why we are now focusing on the chirality in aroma ingredients. So chemical compounds involving aroma ingredients derived from natural resources most often have a chirality, whereby one isomer is usually preferred over the other for various reasons, including odor. With respect to aroma ingredients, it is quite common to use the racemic form of the ingredient because it is somewhat challenging to synthesize only the desired optically active form. So in order to reduce waste and the environmental impact of aroma ingredients, further developments for chiral synthetic technology is necessary to bring the scent closer to nature. So, in this session, we'd like to consider chirality in aroma ingredient development and to contemplate the future direction of these ingredients. Why the interest in optically active substances? To begin with, the human body is composed of optically active molecules and also has the ability to discriminate optically active molecules. Generally, one is beneficial, while the other may be of little worth or even harmful. Synthesizing both simultaneously as a mixture is energetically unfavorable, wasteful from an atom economy perspective, and generally inefficient. In some cases, it may also be harmful to the human body and may need to be avoided. So, this is a good example of the study using cell-based assay for the L-muscon chirality. The cell-based assay of olfactory receptor it can be measured. So in this study, OR5AN1 is used for the muscon receptor. Comparison of the cell-based assay between L and D and DL mixture muscon, a strong response intensity was observed in L muscon. On the other hand, the intensity of D muscon was very weak. So from this result, we can see the big difference between L muscon and D muscon. That means the cell can be recognized the both enantiomers. So this slide shows the potential benefits of chiral aroma ingredients. For the field, I chose in the field not only olfactive perception, but we need physical properties, psychological properties, and also environmental impact. This is a very important field. So our mental process is based on the medicine obtained from turpentine oil. Asymmetric isomerization of generally diacetylamine can separate both optical isomers. The resulting dicitronellar can be converted to menthol, and production is in operation at the level of thousands of tons per year. So in this way, there are many items manufactured from renewable raw materials, branched into dicitronellar and L-citronellar. And using these as a key intermediate, we produce and supply a wide range of items. All of these items are derived from renewable raw materials, are obtained with a perfect optical purity, and are used in the manufacture of a wide variety of products. So we developed the 3S dihydrofuranol which has a fresh floral note, like cyclamen odor, so we named Biomuge. This manufacturing process is very similar to our current menthol process. The key reaction is asymmetric isomerization of allylamine. So the raw material is farnesene, which comes from sugar cane by fermentation. So this manufacturing process is a fusion of biosynthesis technology and asymmetric synthesis technology, and we can be said to be environmentally friendly. Okay, we also developed the biocyclamol, showing here a 3S dihydrofuranol comparison between each enantiomer. The 3S form has a clean, fresh, and floral green cyclamen like lily of the valley note. On the other hand, the 3R form is weak. This biocyclamol is also developed from sugar cane. That means it is a 100 bio-based product. So let's see some example of the difference of odor description between each isomers. So for diacetylomers of rose oxide have been identified in white wine, grape, rose citronellar oil, and are assumed to be for the floral green top note of rose. L isomers are rich in in nature. The evaluation results are shown as this table. LC's form has superior in olfactory to the other isomers, and the threshold is too small than the other isomers. The LC cellulose oxide can be synthesized from optically active L-citrulose. So next, dextromethorphan has also mainly 4 isomers. Among of them, 1R3S6S form has a strong, very elegant woody amber note. Especially, the stereochemistry of hydroxyl group is very important. The stereochemistry of 6-membered ring can be built by using enantiopure L-citrulose. The development of asymmetric catalyst is very much in line with the green chemistry 12 principles listed here. This is because the manufacturing process must prevent waste, atom economy, very mild reaction conditions, excellent energy efficiency, and suppress the formation of byproduct and also the undesired enantiomers. In addition, by using renewable raw materials, it is possible to say that the production items are ultimate sustainable scent. So here is an example of asymmetric synthesis reaction. Optically active citronellal can be obtained by using rhodium binder catalyst with geranyl diethylamine as a substrate. This stereochemistry is completely controlled by the optically active binder. Optically active citronellal can also be obtained from nerol with the optically active ruthenium catalyst. These reactions are very efficient and high atom economy. Finally, as mentioned, the development of asymmetric synthesis technology has been applied to the production method of aroma ingredients, and it has become possible to efficiently produce optically active substances. By combining catalytic asymmetric synthesis and biotechnology, it has become possible to produce more eco-friendly products. This is our more with less concept. That's it from my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now request Mr. Alan Fricks to please come up and give his presentation.
We do have time, and I invite anybody from the audience, if there are 1 or 2 questions, we can take it right now. Something which came to my mind, I really appreciate the way you talked about the entire thing, and particularly about the chiral aroma chemical. I just want to have your views when we are producing 2 molecules, one chiral, and which is similar to what exists in the nature, which is very close to the nature, and one which exists into the nature. Is there going to be a difference with respect to their effects on health or toxicity, or both of them are going to be the same? Please.
Yeah, what's in the except?
Yeah. I just want to have an idea. You have been talking about the chiral aroma molecules.
Okay.
You have discussed about a number of different molecules, and definitely we are going from D to L, small d to small l, big D to L, R and S. So the moment we are producing a chiral aroma molecule synthetically,
Yes.
and the same kind of a configuration exists in nature. One of the example which is of concern, I'm fairly sure to the this industry, particularly in India, that is the menthol. So if we have one molecule which is natural menthol, L-menthol, and another which is being made synthetically via chiral synthesis, are both of them are going to be the same, or they are going to be a difference into them with respect to their composition, particularly the trace, in terms of their toxicity and other effects? I just want to have your views.
Yeah. So our chiral synthetic technology will be more important to make the desired desired form.
So is there any other question I invite from the audience? Else we can go ahead to our next speaker, Alan Fricks. Over to you, please. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thanks a lot for FAFAI to have I'm very grateful not only to come here, but to rejoin the Indian family. A story which in my case started 30 years ago, as my first trip to India was in 1991. And since then, India is very close to me. Now, let's try to close our eyes, not for 15 minutes, but for 15 seconds, and imagine that we all embark in a rocket and we are going to make a big cosmos trip, getting out of the planet and try to have a very helicopter view of the FNF industry. And you will see the idea is to try to see from distance how the industry looks like and how it could evolve. So, you know, a lot of people talk about biomass. Biomass here, biomass there, renewability here. And at the end, what is biomass? Well, biomass is to some extent, the pool of carbons, the pool of hydrocarbons that we can use from nature to make any element of life, any element industrial. And I tried to figure out, trying to put together all the carbon molecules that we use in our different industries and see how they compare. And this is a bit what it could look like. You have a lot of carbons going to the energy industry as they are bound to provide energy. The second biggest user of carbon is food. And then, interestingly, you have more the chemical sector, like the plastics, the pesticide, the laundry and detergent, and you have the cosmetic sector, much smaller, and almost not visible. You have that little planet, which we call the FNF planet. This planet is incredibly small compared to the other giants. Why is it important to understand the relative size of the carbon users? It will come later on. When we talk about the FNF planet, there is no such planet, because these are two different worlds. The fragrance world is very different than the flavor world. First, in its composition, when you talk about a flavor, you talk about a little core of real aromatics, molecules from nature or synthesized, very little core of the flavor, if I may say, surrounded by a lot of kind of solvent, kind of fillers. While the fragrance planet is different because you have a big core of aromatic elements and a smaller core of solvents. The reason is you need more aromatic elements because you spray your fragrance, you don't ingest it, hopefully not. And here, just a quick assumption that the planet FNF is about a little less than 2 million tons of carbohydrates in weight and about $33 billion of size and turnover. The flavor planet is a little bigger than the fragrance planet, has $19 billion for the flavors and only 14 for the fragrance. And the flavor planet is also very different because it's much bound to local tradition. The first flavor is the spoon given by your mother when you're a baby, and it already contains the rich profile of aromatics from the local kitchen. And this is tradition. And the kitchen is often the start of a culture. So flavor is much more cultural. It obeys 2 different rules than fragrance rules, and it is made out of many ingredients. While in fragrance, it's more a globalized industry, obeys to REACH and other legislation, and is depending on less number of ingredients. This is, you will be able to find this documentation, but this is a bit of detail, and there is, as you can see, a little bigger weight for flavors than for fragrances. Now, what we want to do here is to see all these aromatic molecules, how do they look like from the feedstock perspective. So let's try to put the core of the FNF planet of flavors and the one of fragrance and see what it is made of. This is a bit the core. The core is 740,000 tons of carbohydrates coming from naturals and synthetics together that will give a fragrance or a flavor profile. And 2/3 of that comes from petrochemistry. Only 1/3 comes from nature. Does not mean synthetic, it means from natural origin that will then be converted into molecules by extraction or by chemical reaction in the FNF ingredients. I don't know if you hear me well because I'm not sure. Is it okay? Okay. Now we can take a look a little closer at the FNF donut and to see, okay, I just explained that 2/3 of the feedstock is from petrochemistry, as you can see, and then 1/3 is from natural origin. Half of this 1/3, half of this renewability, comes from terpenes from forest. And this is a very big thing, because you have these forest terpenes which are responsible for half of the renewability of the FNF and mostly of the fragrances. We are going to take a quick look about these pine terpenes. And then we'll take a look at what we call the real naturals, because the pine terpenes are mostly ending up as synthetics in the FNF. And the pine terpenes plus the naturals make together what we call the renewables, and it's all a biomass matter. But biomass, what is biomass? Well, we need to look at the pool of carbons in nature. Maybe you know, but the biggest biomass on Earth are plants. The biggest biomass is not in the sea, it's on Earth. And it is made out of the forest. The forest counts for half of the biomass on Earth. And it's important to know because if you need to find biomass, you need to know where to find it. Half of the forests are made of, 1/3 of the forests are made of softwood, which are the conifers. And these are trees with a lot of resins. So let's take a look at it, at the softwood forest chemicals by the use. Most of the coniferous biomass is 90 billion tons of carbon. These are all the forests. Most of the forests are not accessible. They are in very Arctic, very cold areas, in swamps, where even trucks cannot reach. But 1% of the forests, of the coniferous forests, are used by men every year. And it's relatively renewable. Out of that, there are 3 big applications from the forest: the firewood, the sawmills, and the pulp mills. I will spare you too much detail, but the main reason why people use conifers is for cellulose, to make paper, and to make construction material. But we, as an industry, were looking at the terpenes, the VOCs made by the trees, and these VOCs are abundant. Do you know that in nature there are 40,000 types of terpenes? Our industry is using only 100 types. There is a lot of biodiversity out there that we are not tapping. In addition, these terpenes, they do not only have a protective aspect against bugs, against insects, but it protects the pine trees against climate. Above the pine trees, there is a halo of a lot of VOCs which create a condensation and protecting aspect against the climate. And because of that, the pine trees produce fragrances day and night, winter and summer, a reason why when you enter a coniferous forest, a pine forest, it smells like pine trees, and they release more than 400 million tons of terpenes every year. If you remember, a fragrance industry is 740,000 tons made by men. Well, the biggest perfumer today, ladies and gentlemen, are the pine trees. They are way, way more productive than us. Now, it's a very complex thing to transform biomass into FNF ingredients. I will spare you the detail, but if you want it on one picture, this is what happens to the coniferous biomass and all the cycles and all the streams going to so many things. And the turpentine is a very little fraction, almost infinitesimal. It's there. Well, I cannot. One second. It's 1, 2, 3. And there's a new one coming soon, but it's very little. So these were the pine trees and the type of terpenes that we are using in the industry. I remember when you see this list, the nature is making 40,000 types. Now, on essential oils, I don't need to dedicate or to explain you about the essential oils because you know it far better than me. There are about 227 commercial oils today. More than 600 are existing but not known to the world. The problem on essential oils are various. The first problem is a climate change, especially drought, absence of water, is going to lead to some new places to produce essential oils and will lead to maybe change of yields of many oils. And this is important. We need to be proactive in tackling this problem. There are portions in the world which are going to be extremely subject to climate change. I think especially of United States, who will suffer a lot, of China is going to be really hit a lot, and Mediterranean area. India, protected by the gods, India is relatively going to see a mild climate change. There is a climate change happening, but the effect will be less worse, less bad than in other regions of the world. And this is a very important thing because it means that India will be able to use a pool of biomass which will continue to grow. Another thing is we need to be proactive in using the water and the concept of plantations like it happened into many regions. And I take an example of the Konunura sandalwood plantation is an example, but many other plantations of all types of trees will need to be thought of to enable to use the water in a smarter way. Then you have the other problem because of climate change is increasing the strength of the hurricanes. And these hurricanes have a pattern. Unfortunately, Madagascar is in the middle of that pattern. And this is a big problem. Many very important and valuable FNF ingredients come from Madagascar. It's an opportunity for India. Let's think broad. Nothing will be as it was in the past. We are in a period of change. And also with Haiti. Haiti is in the circle of the corridors, the corridor of the hurricanes. This is bringing new potential for other regions of the world. Then another problem for essential oil is the certification hype. Everything needs to be certified. It becomes like a disease. Oh no, we know that it is imposed, but I just wonder how many more certification pressure shall we have to put on the shoulder of the farmers until the farmers say enough of these essential oils, we are going to go to food and make food crops. We need to be aware that without the farmers, we are nowhere on essential oils. And then another thing, and relative new, is that regularity of people from the European Union and other big countries do not understand complexity. As an example, they say that essential oils, they say it's a complex substance, instead of saying it's a simple mixture of natural ingredients that comes out as such from nature or being extracted from nature. No, they cannot understand that, and they want to simplify it in individual constituents. The problem is the properties and toxicological properties of the individual constituents are not the same than the toxicological properties of the essential oil. And this is what the regulatory people do not want to hear. Also, they want to say no, and this is happening in Europe, and hopefully it will not be voted, but it's coming, that they say if an essential oil contains a hazardous molecule, the full essential oil will be considered as hazardous, regardless of the exposure of the dilution of the essential oil. And this is a big threat for the sector, a real big threat. So we need to be wary, and maybe at some time we need to revolt and defend ourselves if we want our industry to continue the tradition of more than 6,000 years of essential oil production. Another shift that happens in the industry is people talk, when they talk about sustainability, they talk more and more about carbon footprint. In the past, people were talking more about renewability. Renewability was a key word. Today, it's carbon footprint. Well, it's a different thing, because carbon footprint can be very nice, but it does not englobe all the pillars of the sustainability. And I'm thinking in particular of the social pillar. The social pillar, employing so many people, so many farmers in rural area, is that not what we want to happen, and not have these people moving to cities? So the social pillar is extremely important and should be more englobed into the sustainability concept by the brands and the consumer good companies. And then sustainability. You know, it's like us, nothing is perfect. There is no good, perfect, sustainable molecule. Because if you make it from petrochemistry, you may have a very efficient atom usage. You may be very disciplined in using carbon atoms and have a very good green chemistry, but you have very social impact, very low social impact. You don't employ many farmers. You don't employ rural people. So this is very low social impact. While if you make it from natural extraction, you have the contrary. You have some impact on the agriculture, but at the same time, you will have a nice social impact, which is important to keep a livelihood for the farmers. So it's always a balancing act. Ideally, people should use both in a balanced way, petrochemicals and naturals, because you need both. And you are not going to get rid of petrochemicals just because simply the biomass is not ready. Now, let's take a last look at the smaller aspect of the market, especially biotech and natural chemicals. As you can see, they are very small today. Why? Because they are very expensive. Nobody wants to use very expensive molecule in a big quantity. So in terms of volume, it will be still small for another 20, 30 years until this molecule reach a selling price, a commercial price of $10 to $15 per kilo. Today, the cheapest one is mostly at $200 a kilo. Then you have the petro wonderful feedstock. I say wonderful because at the end, we need to use what's available. And the petrol, of course, was not invented for the F&F industry. It was invented for gasoline. And when you make a byproduct of gasoline, you make a big chemistry for plastics and adhesives and so on. And the F&F industry is using these wonderful technologies to create own molecules for flavors and fragrance application. And this happened over the last 150 years. And because of that, the petrochemical industry is able to use the atoms in a very efficient way. And this increases their chemistry aspect. And now, in the next 10 years, we will see more interaction between the petrochemical feedstocks and the biomass. And you know, the biomass, there are three ways. One way is to extract by essential oil system. Another way is the natural chemical. And the third way is what you can do with wood and to start to decompose it, to cut long molecules into smaller parts and start again to polymerize them. And this is a technology which is not yet to the point. However, we start to see now hybrids, new hybrids, which will come from the addition of chemical molecules made by petrol plus chemical molecules made by biomass. And to put together, you have hybrid addition. In fact, there was already an example some time ago. We can call it isoe super, a condensation of methylpentanone that can be made from petrol and myrcene from wood, let's say wood biomass. And then you have the mass balance, which is another concept where you inject in the crude, in the refinery, you inject a portion of green stuff into the black stuff to make a kind of balanced, and this is another concept because the traceability is not the same. And then we will see in the next 15 years an apparition of many hybrids molecules to increase the renewability of existing F&F molecules that were made exclusively from petrol. And a very important thing is reformulations. Reformulation because of regulatory, reformulations because of cost, and electronic noses are appearing now to try to fasten the reformulation by using computer, artificial intelligence, and the electronic nose approach. And I have an example of flavors for tobacco company which were able to reduce their ingredient by 2, the numbers of ingredients and their cost, and still providing the same effect on the human brain of the image of the flavor. And this is going to happen more and more. It's complex, but it's efficient. And you can screen like 50 molecules every day. Now, India. I think, not only because I love India, but India has a key role to continue to play, and even more to play in the feedstock for F&F and F&F product themselves. First of all, because you have access to petrochemical feedstocks. And you have access to a big biomass. Climate change will be in favor, and this will include essential oils, but other products that will go to biomass. I'm thinking about the sugarcane, but new things too. And then you have high level of chemical engineers, which is a problem in Europe and the States. You have it in India, thanks to your education system, which is far more efficient. You have top-level expertise in biotech. Biotech will be a major driver of economy in the next 20 years. Then the new generation of Indian people are entrepreneurial. They want to succeed, and they really want to work. I cannot say the same, unfortunately, about Western new generations who are maybe a bit too comfortable, and they think more about their rights not to work than the ability to work. This is a big thing, because this is conditioning a lot of motivation, and an economy like India will be positively reinforced by that. And then unlike China, because we need to compare also versus China. China is a common comparison. India is a superpower with a very good geopolitical aspect. I think better geopolitics than China. India is a democratic system that will solve better problems than other countries can do. And India is also speaking the same worldwide language, English. And this is a big, big support for economy and for growth. I mean, this is a very strong asset to expand and to make sure that Indian economy is broadening. So, I mean, this is a big, the solution, but you know, there is a lot of work to be done, and I would say, especially in the biomass, it's not yet ready, so we need to keep in mind, we need the petrochemicals more than ever, and we need to be educating the farmers if we want to make sure that the essential oil do comply with the needs of the consumer good companies. I think this is a very key thing, but India, I think, is a very good country in terms of looking ahead to the future. A quick thing is, there's a lot of free information in the IFIAT World magazine, free of charge. And then there is a new book being publicized recently about the cradle of the German industry of petrochemistry to fragrances, which is 150 years old. It's a fantastic book, maybe the best book I ever saw in FNF. This book is magnificent. Even my wife likes it. I mean, because the pictures are fantastic about its elegance and it's rich in information, and we can learn from history, as the author Ronald Page very well described in his 200-page book. Really, buy this book. This is fantastic. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for a nice presentation. And now I can understand when 3 days back we have been talking in the late night, when you have been asking about some more time. It was altogether a session itself with a lot of data with a lot of different angle and dimension which you tried to cover. Really a nice presentation. But we have taken a good amount of time of QA and a little bit of Paul's time too. So straightway, instead of taking question, I will request Mr. Paul to go ahead with this presentation. And after that, if we could able to squeeze out some time, we will go ahead with QA for Alan and Paul all together. I will request Mr. Paul to go ahead with this presentation, please. So, okay, his presentation was all together. So now the session is open, and I could understand there will be definitely, the way the audience has been listening very carefully, we can invite few questions from the audience. The session is open for a question either from Alan or from Takaji as well. The session is open. If there is any question, we are open now.
It was a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. My question, you raised the issue of the social angle to the essential oils and related to the farming. What can the industry do to better convince regulators, governments that this is an important aspect that hits the livelihoods of millions who are not so fortunate as most people in the developed world are? So what can people here do, and what can associations that exist in Europe do to do this a little better?
Thank you very much. It is true that the essential oil industry probably provides the most jobs of all the FNF industry, like 10 million people, probably 10 million farmers, probably live from the FNF industry. The problem is, we saw the planet FNF ridiculously small. Politicians don't care about the FNF planet. They care about the plastic planet, the energy planet, the pesticide planet, but things like FNF is very small. And the problem is, it's not only small, it's complex. I saw that talking to many associations, and certainly a lot of associations who really want to defend our industry and lobby and try to explain to politicians about the beauty and the importance of our industry, socio-economically, but also culturally, well, you know, politicians seems to be tough to educate. And this is unfortunately what I see, not only in Europe, but in the States. And often politicians try to be a little quickly influenced by some consumer group organizations that sometimes I would call the fanatics of anti-this, anti-smoking, anti-this and that. At the end, you know, they want us to live in a pure world without anything. The reality is we are exposed to all kinds of molecules day and night, and this is something that, you know, anything that is too complex is not perceived, and that contains chemicals, even if it is a natural chemical, is not perceived as safe, is not perceived as good. And this is the problem of the regulation in Europe. There is a new thing now, a new hype. It's about the complex of essentiality, the Green Deal. These people want to transform the planet and make it totally green planet without any toxic thing. And this is a world, you know, if they wanted to start with something, then they should cut all the forests of the world, because the pine trees make more VOC, the whole of industry together, as an example. The problem is they don't apply the principle of proportionality. That means even if your fragrance diffuse a little VOC, compared to a forest making huge amount, that fragrance will be targeted as something demoniac, as something too forbidden. In North Europe, especially in Scandinavia, they don't like fragrances. They don't. In South Europe, they do. So it's a cultural thing too. Then it's a political thing with it between these politicians. And the problem is, while we try to make a lot of socio-economic reports and lobby as much as we can, it's the politicians listen very little. They also listen very little to scientific explanations because they cannot understand it and don't want to understand it. My belief is, if you ask my personal belief, and since I work for my own company, I cannot fire myself, so I'm more free to express myself. I think the industry should make a revolution by making a movie, making a book, making testimonies, and attacking the politicians which are not defending that industry. And the best way is to use the media to support us. I think that would be the best, because the media is a big power to convince and to explain people, the consumers, that our industry should be considered to be a holy industry and should be really respected as such. It's a result of 6,000 years of tradition. Is it not worth to put the essential oil as a UNESCO type of heritage? As an example, we need to do something. Today, I'm not optimistic at all about all the associations that represent us, because they talk to politicians who do not understand yet. And I think if we want the politicians of tomorrow to understand what we have as a problem today, we need to educate the kids. The children of today need to understand, and we need to do more efforts to explain our industry to the children of tomorrow. The people, the adults of tomorrow need to be explained today, because there is a misconception about chemicals, natural chemicals, and essential oils, unfortunately.
Can we have a big round of applause for all four of them? Yeah. It has been a really interesting, insightful session. Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like to call upon stage Mr. Atul Dattani to please felicitate Takaji Matsumoto. I think we'll take a moment for that. I would like to call upon stage Mr. A. Apparao to felicitate Mr. Alan Fricks. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Alan Fricks? Thank you so much, sir.
Purchase your tracks today.
And now I would like to call upon stage Mr. Ashish Gupta to felicitate Mr. Paul Vandrui.
Ultra beats on the track.
Thank you so much, sir. We had a wonderful moderator with us, Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Atul Agarwal to please come and felicitate Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. Okay, till the moment I request Mr. Atul Dattani to please come and felicitate Mr. Takaji Matsumoto.
Ultra beats on the track.
Thank you so much, sir. I request Mr. Rahul Mehrotra, sir, to please felicitate our moderator for the day, for the session, Mr. Shakti Vinay Shukla. Thank you so much, sir. I think it's time that we all come up for a group picture of all these speakers and moderator and the guest. Till then, I want to utilize the time and I want to come to the audience, to all the delegates out here. Thank you so much, guys, for being a lovely listener for this wonderful event. I have a question to some of the individuals out here. I just want to know how many of you are here sitting on the table where you know the individuals on your table. Do you know all the individuals on your table? On the round table? If yes, can you please raise your hands? So you know all the individuals. Okay, so okay ma'am, you know all the individuals. Perfect, that is amazing. Amazing. And there are people who are not aware of everyone in the table. Okay, so because it has been a lovely event, I want each and every one of you just to do a small activity so that we can make this event even more fun and then move to the next session. I want everyone to take out their cell phones and click a picture with the person right next to you so that you can have it as a memory of this wonderful international expo and convention. It's a small activity which I want each and every one of you to do, because that's how we create memories and that's how we save it. And right now we have technology to use that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting off with our next session very soon, shortly, which is the fourth session of the day and the last session for the day, the art of managing families and businesses. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting off in some time with our next session. Our speakers here will be Professor Parimal Merchant and our moderator will be Mr. Kamlesh Shah. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being a wonderful audience. We'll be coming back soon with our fourth session.